1914 Vienna Cup and Glentoran Football Club. Do you just want to give us an insight to what it's all about, really?
Well, as many Glentoran supporters know, the sort of Vienna Cup is part of the folklore and the heritage of Glentoran Football Club. It's been talked about for generations, and really the winning of it centres around this amazing European odyssey that the Glens undertake in 1914. I suppose if the story had happened in any other era, like in 1928 or something, it wouldn't have been such a story. But it's framed by the sinking of Titanic and the outbreak of World War One, the Home Rule crisis, if you like, things like that. So the backdrop to the story is absolutely incredible, and equally so what these 13 Glentoran players actually achieve when they undertake to go to Central Europe to play all these high-end teams.
And I guess it's sort of a story not only about the success and the trophy that was won, but there's some real stories about the people and the players involved. Like you say, some of them went on to fight in World War One, some came from the shipyards. It's a real story in so many aspects.
It's a real eclectic mix, yeah. In actual fact, I think when I first stumbled across the story of the Vienna Cup, it was all about the winning of the cup and this debatable first European sort of championship, but in actual fact, when you look at it, the stories of the people make the stories. They're pretty much all East Belfast men. They're all working class men who are half decent footballers. But when you delve into their backgrounds and how they all come to be playing at the Oval in that era, it's just incredible. You've one guy, for example, Johnny Scraggs from Erskine Street, who's of Swiss extraction. His granny's from Switzerland, and he ends up in East Belfast playing for the Glens. You've guys coming in, as many people did, guys coming in from the country to find work, and then discovering that they're reasonable footballers, and ultimately they all end up in the red, green, and black, and so the stories of how they get into the team, and then the story of actually what happens to them when they come back. I found when I was looking at it that I could have ended it on the platform of York Street when they arrived back with this beautiful silver cup in a suitcase. But when you look beyond what happened next, it's equally as remarkable, and it's brilliant that Clean Slate Productions and the BBC have actually sort of, seen in this what I saw.
So how were you first approached really about the film? Was it the BBC approached you, or did you go to them? How's this sort of came about?
It was quite the other way around. Once I'd written the book, the feedback was from several different people, some within the industry, that they felt that it was either a film or a play or a documentary, and I shouldn't just let it go at writing the book. So I pretty much, this isn't my thing. I just write for fun, and I love the history of the club. But I just tried to make contact with a production company, and Clean Slate discovered we're based down in the Gasworks. So I brought them up to the garden here during lockdown, and it was like Dragon's Den. I pitched the story of the Vienna Cup to these two sort of TV executives, and they loved it. They actually they went, yeah, we can see this too. We can see how this pans out. So they put a treatment together and took it to the BBC, and I'm led to believe that like getting a documentary to air is near impossible. There are companies doing this day in, day out. So to do it off the bat on your first go seems to be quite an achievement. But they took it to the BBC, who in turn, they're certainly, you'll see when you watch it, there's certainly a Scottish influence in the team. There's three of the team, come from Scotland to find work in the shipyard. So the Ulster Scots Agency were interested in it too. So between the BBC and the Ulster Scots Agency, they agreed to fund the filming of the documentary. And then, of course, lockdown happened and everything ground to a horrible standstill.
And with the documentary film itself, without giving too much away, do we get to go over to Vienna and see some of the old sites and some of the things that have happened all those years ago.
Yeah. I don't think it's too much of sort of letting the cat out of the bag. You know, that was actually one of the sort of the main criteria. The BBC actually wanted to go to Vienna and see the place through the eyes of these men who in reality, many of them, like some of them, don't get me wrong, some of them crossed the water, but many of them, the furthest they would have traveled probably was to Dublin to play for the Glens on the train. Some of them hadn't been on boats before. They built plenty of them, but they certainly hadn't traveled on them. So they wanted to, look at this amazing place that takes you from the Newton Road from Ballymacarrat to Franz Ferdinand's Summer Palace. It's just an incredible journey.
And Glentoran, from in the 1880s playing matches in Ormo Park to going to Vienna and playing in Europe to where we are today, where does this sort of story and sort of rank amongst Glentoran folklore and our history? It must be right up there.
It is up there. There's no doubt. With another epic tour that's sort of revered, and that's the Detroit Cougars, but that was carried out in modern day conditions. This is beyond belief. This, to give you an example, they leave York Street railway station at 6:30 on a Monday night, and they're expected on the platform of the main station in Prague on Wednesday afternoon at 3:30. So these guys, these footballers sleep on the overnight trains. They sleep on the boats. They don't check into hotels for almost 3 days in order to get themselves there. Then they crisscross Europe. It's not even a straight route. They bounce from Prague to Berlin to Vienna to Bratislava and end up in Budapest. So they're all over the shop, and actually total it up. It's something like 3,500 miles that they travel in the space of 14 days, and then they play football in between it. It's beyond belief. And none of the modern day, no logging onto the internet and booking your, if you imagine how you book your tickets on the boat and how you get the tickets for the trains, all done in cash, and the logistics are just left to one man to organize. The feed alone's incredible. It's just amazing.
And it's always sort of been said within the club, that we were the first British team to win a European trophy. After all this research and making of the documentary, what is the real fact, and what have you discovered?
Well, the reality is, obviously, the one thing that's always stacked up against is the Lipton Cup, the Lipton trophy, which was won by West Auckland a few years previously. That team was a team of amateur miners. So Glentoran, because they are all paid, albeit a very small wage, are a professional team. So in reality, Glentoran are the first professional British team to lift a trophy on mainland Europe. And that's not me saying that. That's a gentleman called Guy Oliver, who's a curator of the FIFA Museum. So when he discovered this story, he wrote the other clubs who had held tournaments and organized tours to ask them if they had in their possession a trophy which preceded the Vienna Cup, and none of them indicated that they had. So yeah, it's the first. And the lovely thing about it, obviously, then the Lipton Trophy, I think, was stolen, so it doesn't exist. So the very oldest European trophy, if you like, is in the Oval Boardroom, which is still in existence, tangible. You can go and visit it and hear the story around it. There was another trophy played for it in that sort of region by Celtic and Burnley, but it ended up in a almost bloodbath. The fisticuffs at the end and a 1-1 draw, and the organisers refused to present the trophy. They just wouldn't give it to them. It was melted down to the German war effort. So neither team. They did replay over in Burnley, but none of them returned with the cup. So yeah, Glentoran, first professional team to lift the trophy and still have it in possession.
Yeah, that's incredible. Some brilliant stories. And just finally, it's going to be on BBC 20 to 11 on Monday. Just what would you say to encourage the fans to watch it, and maybe
Oh, look,
Irish League fans as well?
yeah, I wouldn't encourage. Yeah, I wouldn't just, but because I know, certainly, Glentoran people who are aware that will be glued to the screen. But it's just a great story. It's a great. The BBC actually entitled it Belfast's victory in Vienna because it was, it was an epic achievement of working class men and camaraderie and the other thing which becomes apparent within it is that the team's made up of Protestants and Catholics and Irishmen and Ulstermen, Scotsmen, Englishmen. A great eclectic mix of working class folk just going to take on the finest in Europe. So yeah, it's a ripping yarn. It's one of those just and I wouldn't be surprised if it doesn't hit the silver screen. I think it'll definitely it'll end up with some sort of theatre production somewhere. Just a brilliant tale.